The elevator doors slid shut with a metallic sigh. And that was the exact moment my heart decided to betray me. Of all the men in New York City, millions, literally millions, it had to be him. Ethan Walker. My ex. The man who shattered me 2 years ago with a single text that read, "I can't do this anymore." The hotel air was too thick. The elevator too small. And his cologne, God. That cologne was the same one I used to bury my face in after long nights tangled in his arms. It wrapped around me now like smoke, making it impossible to breathe. I tightened my grip on the handle of my leather duffel bag, pretending I hadn't just been sucker-punched by fate. He glanced at me, startled, then frozen. His mouth parted like he wanted to say something. But the silence between us was louder than the jazz music humming from the hotel lobby downstairs. I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall, wide eyes, clenched jaw, the look of a man desperately trying to keep it together. "Alex," he finally said, my name dragging across his lips with a softness that made my chest ache. I swallowed hard, forcing a dry laugh. "Well, this is ironic." The elevator jolted upward, and the seconds stretched out like hours. He looked the same, maybe better. His hair was a little longer, curling at the edges like he hadn't bothered to tame it. His suit fit him perfectly, the way it always had. Sharp lines hiding the boy I once knew under the man he'd become. But those eyes, blue, piercing, and unrelentingly familiar, were the same ones that used to tell me I was safe. I was wanted. I was loved. "You're staying here?" he asked, his voice lower now, almost cautious. I leaned back against the wall, trying to look casual, though every nerve in my body screamed otherwise. Weekend getaway. Needed a break. I let the corner of my mouth twitch upward in a smirk. Didn't expect my break to come with ghosts. He flinched, barely noticeable, but I saw it. Ethan always wore his guilt like a hidden scar, and I knew exactly where to press if I wanted to reopen it. The elevator chimed, stopping on the 12th floor, but neither of us moved. Two strangers glanced in, sensed the tension like static in the air, and wisely stepped back, letting the doors close again. "Alex, Ethan started, but his voice cracked, and he bit down on the words. I wanted to snap, to ask him why he left without explanation, why he thought he could walk away from 2 years of love as if it were a failed gym membership. I wanted to scream, to remind him of the promises whispered in the dark. But I also wanted dangerously, shamefully to touch him again. Just one brush of my fingers against his hand to remind myself that once. I wasn't imagining it. Once. It was real. "Don't," I said sharply, cutting him off. My throat burned, but I held my chin high. "Don't say anything you'll regret. We're just two guys in an elevator now. Nothing more." His eyes softened, like he saw straight through the armor I was building in real time. And maybe he did, because once upon a time, Ethan knew me better than anyone. The elevator finally dinged on the 17th floor. I stepped out first, my footsteps echoing against the plush carpet. But as I reached for my room key, I heard his voice again, closer than I expected. "You're on this floor too." I froze, turned, and there he was, standing just a few feet away, his own keycard dangling between his fingers. Of course, out of every floor in this ridiculous skyscraper hotel, he was staying on mine. Fate wasn't just cruel, it had a sick sense of humor. I closed my hotel door behind me and leaned against it, my chest heaving like I'd just run a marathon. The city skyline stretched wide and glittering through the floor-to-ceiling window, but I couldn't appreciate it. Not with Ethan's presence lingering in the hallway. 2 years I'd spent building walls, dating other people, convincing myself I was over him. Yet one elevator ride had turned me into a mess of nerves and half-forgotten cravings. I tossed my bag onto the bed, pacing the room. Why now? Why him? Why couldn't fate leave me the hell alone? A knock rattled the door. My stomach dropped. I told myself not to answer, that opening it would be the same as reopening wounds I'd barely survived. But my hand betrayed me, twisting the knob. And there he was again. Ethan Walker, standing in the doorway like the last 2 years had been a bad dream. "Alex," he said softly, almost pleading. "Can we talk?" I should have slammed the door. I should have laughed in his face. But instead, I found myself stepping aside, letting him in. The room suddenly felt smaller, tighter, like the walls themselves knew secrets were about to spill. He walked toward the window, staring out at Manhattan's glow before turning back to me. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you," he said. The words slammed into me, shaking the ground I thought I'd secured beneath my feet. "Then why the hell did you leave?" My voice cracked, raw with anger I thought I'd buried. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "Because I was scared. Because you deserved better than the mess I was back then. I thought walking away was protecting you." I laughed bitterly. Newsflash: Ethan breaking someone's heart isn't protection. It's destruction. He closed the space between us in 3 strides. His eyes locked on mine, burning with a mixture of regret and longing. "I know," he whispered, "and it's the biggest mistake of my life." I wanted to push him away. I wanted to believe he was lying. But God help me, I also wanted to believe every word. I stared at him, every muscle in my body pulled tight like a bowstring. His confession hung in the air, raw and jagged, and I didn't know if I wanted to cradle it or tear it apart. "You don't get to just walk back into my life and say that," I said, my voice shaking. "You don't get to pretend the nights I spent wondering what I did wrong never happened. You left me with nothing, Ethan. Nothing but questions." He flinched as if I'd struck him, but he didn't look away. Instead, he stepped even closer, his chest rising and falling, his eyes never leaving mine. "You're right. I don't deserve forgiveness. But Alex, I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day." I wanted to scream, to cry, to shove him out the door and never look back. But I also wanted to pull him in, to let my hands memorize his face again, to fall into the warmth I'd missed every damn night since he left. I turned away, running a hand through my hair, trying to breathe. "You can't just drop that on me. You don't know what it's been like. Trying to erase you, trying to move on. And now what? You want me to believe you've changed?" His voice broke, soft and desperate. "I don't want you to erase me. I want you to remember us. Because what we had, it wasn't ordinary. Alex, it was everything." Silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. The city outside roared with horns and laughter. But in that room, it was just us 2 men, 2 broken hearts, and a truth too big to ignore. Finally, I whispered, "Then prove it. Prove you're not the same man who walked away." His eyes glistened, and before I could react, he closed the last inch between us. His lips hovered over mine, trembling, waiting for permission. My body screamed at me to push him away, but my heart, it betrayed me. I kissed him. The world tilted. 2 years of pain, anger, longing, all of it poured out in that single desperate kiss. His hands cradled my face like I was something precious, something he'd lost and finally found again. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. When we pulled apart, breathless, I pressed my forehead to his. "If you hurt me again, I won't," he vowed, his voice steady now, full of conviction. "I swear I won't." The rest of the weekend blurred into something I couldn't have predicted. We really talked for hours, sprawled across the hotel bed as the city pulsed beneath us. He told me about the therapy, the nights he hated himself for leaving, the ways he tried to become someone worthy of love again. And for the first time, I let him see the scars he'd left on me. It wasn't easy. It wasn't neat. But it was real. On Sunday morning, sunlight poured through the window, casting golden lines across his bare shoulders as he lay beside me. He stirred, blinking awake, and for a moment I just watched him, the man I had once lost. The man who somehow found his way back. "Morning," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "Morning," I whispered back, unable to stop the smile tugging at my lips. We lay in silence for a while, our fingers laced together, the city already alive outside. I thought about how easily things could have gone differently, that I could have slammed the door, walked away, pretended none of this mattered. But it did matter. It always had. He turned his head, looking at me with those blue eyes that once terrified me with how much they could see. "Do you think we get second chances, Alex?" I squeezed his hand. "I think sometimes life forces us into elevators we never wanted to be in." He laughed softly, kissing my temple. "Guess I should thank the universe for terrible timing." I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. For the first time in a long time, it didn't hurt to remember us. It felt like possibility, like hope. That afternoon, we checked out together. The elevator ride down was nothing like the one before. No silence. No suffocating tension. Just him standing beside me, close enough that our shoulders brushed, his warmth seeping into me. When the doors opened into the lobby, he glanced at me, hesitant. "Coffee before you go?" I raised a brow. "That's your big romantic gesture. Coffee." He grinned, the same boyish grin I used to love, and shrugged. "It's a start." And maybe that was all we needed, a start. We stepped out into the rush of New York. Side by side, two men who had broken and found their way back to something worth holding on to. For the first time since that awful text 2 years ago, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Because whatever it was, I knew we'd face it together. And somehow, that was enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.